The following presentation was recorded live at the Richmond Marriott in Richmond, Virginia for the 29th Annual International Association of Square Dance Callers Convention. This is tape number 20. Close the deal.
Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? You don't look that good, really. Oh, it's me that doesn't look that good. Welcome this morning. I'm Tim Crawford. I'll be the moderator this morning. In case you don't know me, I'm a Square Dance caller from near the Toronto area in Canada. And I've been calling since I was 9 years old. So it's, and I'm 39 now. So that's a long time. And my partner is Ron Markus, and Ron is from Tucson, Arizona. He's been calling since 1971. That's also a long time. He calls for a club down in Tucson, Arizona. He travels all over the place. We both have kids. His are grown, mine are not. Jim Hensley probably won't be able to be here this morning because he has been double booked, so it's just us. And it would be my, the way I'd like to do this morning is to make this very interactive. So it'll be a bit of a challenge because you need to use the microphone if you're going to say anything, but that's great. We'll have Mike run around with the, Mike Hogan. He's our runner this morning, and he'll run around with the microphone when we need to do that. So what we're going to talk about this morning is essentially the one of the final phases of marketing, initial marketing that is. We're calling it Close the Deal, and it's an attempt basically to really what we're going to do actually to get people to finally step up to the plate and come out to the night. We're going to do this in kind of two sessions. I'll do the first part is sort of like the marketing before they actually come to the hall, and then there'll be another little bit about closing the deal, what you do after they get there, and Ron will do that. So this morning we're going to have a discussion essentially on how we do it, and we'll explore some of the methods. Yes, sir. Hold on. State your name. Don't forget to state your name.
I don't have that much time. My name is Will Eads from California, and I would like to know, before we start taking notes of what you have on the board, do you have handouts for this, or should we take our notes?
I can. We don't have handouts here, but I can print this out. Oh, actually, and Jim Hensley is here, so I can get this to you before the end of the convention, because we do have a printer. Come over here, Jim. You're in the way of the screen. Come on, get down. So if you would like, what we'll do is we'll put a list out. If you'd like the printout of this, we'll go print it out for you. If you'd like it in electronic copy, give me your email address and I'll email it to you. It's a PowerPoint presentation, version 4. Okay, so that means if you have Office 2000 or Office 98 or any, I think Office 98 is version 4. So anything, if you'd like it that way, that's remarkably easier. I can do that too. And but if you'd like it printed out, I can do that here too. Okay? Okay? All right, great. So we'll have a list here, and you can do that a little bit later. Okay, and I should introduce Jim Hensley in case you don't know him from CMS Marketing Services. He's the Foundation Executive Marketing Guru here for CALLERLAB. I know you've met him a series of times. So remember, this is very interactive. So if you want to say anything, do jump in. Anyways, so just to continue, we're going to explore the methods through which we get folks to take an active interest in modern Western square dancing and choose it as their leisure time activity. You do know that there is lots and lots of competition for people's leisure time activity these days. So we have to do a pretty good sell job on folks to get them to choose square dancing as their activity, leisure time choice. So we are going to get them to try to come out and square dance at least once. That should be our goal in this trying to close the deal for them. There are some first steps that we want to take a look at. We want to identify and locate our market first before we even begin to attempt marketing to people. Closing the deal is something that you do after you've already done some market research. You've identified and located a market, and the market being the people. You'll determine what types of methods that you can communicate with that market. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Determine how you're going to get to that market, how you're going to get to those groups of people, and how easy it will be to get into that group of people, infiltrate, called penetration rate, and develop a message that you're going to deliver to these people, and then you're actually going to figure out how you're going to deliver it. The last part is to track and calculate the response, and that's the important thing. Some of the best marketing efforts are lost on no follow-ups. So it's important that you follow up, follow up, follow up. No matter what you do, if you get names and addresses, you should always find a way to follow up. Anyhow, the market. Because we realize that not all markets are the same, and they are not always a target market. You can't always have an ideal market. If you've identified your market, you may not be able to have access to it. If the access is there, it might be a market that's a lot smaller than the other markets that you have, but they might not be your ideal market. And when I'm talking about that, markets can be determined by all kinds of things: age, sex, marital status, income levels, etc. And with each one of those markets, there will be a different way in which you will penetrate that market. So you'll have to figure out which way is going to be not only the easiest but the most effective. You'll also have to figure out if you're going to be able to get to that marketplace, and if you have access. For example, if you decide that you're going to market to a church or a church board, it might not be all right for you to hang a flyer in the church. You'll have to seek permission to do that in a lot of cases. And then certainly your message that you send on that flyer, if you do get permission, what it is that you're going to ask and who it is that you're going to be asking to do it. Formulate your procedure to send the message, and then again you're going to track that response. So some of the sample markets that you can look at, these are just some of them. Age group, geography, and what I mean by that is essentially if someone's in a sparsely populated area, the market may be everybody. If you're in a metropolitan area, where I am, for example, you break that down perhaps by, in my case, my marketing basically is a 5 square mile target market. And in that market, I make sure that I go after a specific group of people who participate in a specific activity. So you might want to break it down by that. You might choose to go after a large corporation, like if you live in Detroit and the auto manufacturers are your target, you could seek some sort of market there. We talked about churches and interests. I market at a health club where I go twice a week to play squash. There's a good chance for me to do some marketing there. And I'm also a pilot, and I fly out of a little airport in Burlington, and we have a pilots group. So 2 or 3 times a year, I market those guys and do little square dances out there for them in the hangar, which is fun. And then some people even market by income level. This is probably more of a business thing, but there are people who will find income levels based on where they live. Postal codes, some people do mass mailings by postal codes. All that stuff is available too. You can seek that type of information on the internet. For our purposes, I don't know that income is a good way to do marketing, trying to close a deal, but it might in some cases. One of the challenges that we have in closing the deal is how to tell people what we already know, that square dancing's fabulous. We already know that type of information, but transferring that message to someone who has no concept of what square dancing is a challenge. So you have to really seek some way, some method to make people understand what it is that we do and how good it is or how much fun it is, so that they'll actually take a look at it and agree with you and come out and not necessarily join, but come out to that first night. Do you focus on the social aspects? Do you focus on technical aspects? Do you focus on the art of dancing? Those are all ways that you can actually send a message to people. Some people are into creativity. And so the younger group that, for example, that go to my squash club, they like the puzzle-solving part of square dancing. And the guys who are at the airport, the flying guys, they just like moving around on the floor. That's all that they really care about. So there's all kinds of ways that you can sell this message. You can do it by words, sounds, pictures, and examples. And essentially, words basically are like a written word, is what I mean there. You send out a flyer to people read the flyer, and they make contact with you. You can sell them by sounds, and sounds can be like radio, and even television to a certain degree, where you could do commercials, or if you have some other method by which you can broadcast your message. Pictures is essentially television or digital. The internet is another good way to do some marketing. If you happen to have access to a list of email names that you might choose to do. You can take pictures of square dancing and send it to people. I've done that occasionally, but I do that to market a dance to existing square dancers. I've never done it to cold calling to anybody. And examples is sort of like going to the mall and doing a demo, or going to the state fair and doing a demo. That's what I mean in those cases. All those are fairly effective ways because it gives you a pretty good representation of what it is actually that we are doing. Delivering the message, basically, there's some questions you have to ask yourself. You know, are you a good salesman? Are you a closer? Are you the type of person that can actually go out and sell something? You know, in my business, I employ a bunch of people, and some of them are good salesmen, and some of them are bad salesmen. So if you can't really sell the message, maybe what you need to do is find somebody who can send a good message. Oh, I spelled messengers wrong. Messengers. So if your members actually might be, that's the Canadian way you spell it. We'll move through that fairly quickly. And does your market have the resources to be able to market to them? Yeah. Again, some of the best marketing efforts are lost on people who just haven't got the effort to go out there, haven't got the wherewithal to spend time and do this, because it is a big task. And what I mean, that's right. This sometimes your market, actually, for example, Ford Motor Company in Oakville, for example, contact me to do a dance, and they did the whole market. They marketed within their own employees. They did the whole thing. I didn't have to do anything. All I had to essentially do was show up, essentially. So sometimes, if you choose a given market and you have access to the market, and there's a key individual or key organization that is in control, or not control, but essentially has that market already defined for you, sometimes they already have the resources to do the marketing on your behalf, and all you have to do is a single point of sale, and they'll do the balance. And you have to be sure that you want to agree with their methods of selling it. The Ford Motor Company in Oakville, Ontario, decided that they wanted to have a square dance, and when I saw the advertisement that they put out to their employees, my neighbor works at Ford, and he brought it over, and it was, you know, a big straw, yeehaw, cowboy type thing that I probably wouldn't market that way. And if I had been smarter, I probably would have asked for a little more input into that when they developed that. So some of the resources, we're talking about time. And again, you can do a marketing plan. A bad marketing plan sometimes is even worse than no marketing plan at all. So you really want to make sure that you've got the time to do this type of thing, and that you've got the skill. You don't need a lot of skill to try to sell something to people. Some people are just naturally good at selling. You might be a good writer. You could be artistic. You might have great communication skills. You're a good organizer. But again, you have to just determine whether or not this is something that you can do. If you can't, you might want to try to get somebody else to do it. And there's usually a financial burden that you have to bear when you do marketing. It could be as simple as printing. It could be as expensive as a television ad, depending on how you want to go. But no matter what you choose, you want to make sure that you've got the financial resources to do it. And if you can't do it alone, you want to make sure that you've got the help, the manpower to do it. And if you are going to get help, who are they going to be? Where are they going to come from? And are they going to deliver the message in the way that you want it to be delivered? So you really have to manage this type of an effort. A good marketing plan is well thought out right through to the very end. And, you know, the last part of this is the tracking. You know, how are they going to contact you? Do you have contact points? Do you expect them to call you? And if so, are you going to give them phone numbers? And if the phone number is there, is someone going to be there to answer the phone? Will there be a message center? I can't tell you the number of times where I've got ads in magazines, and you call them up to try to purchase their product, and there's no one there. Or the voicemail, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. And the frustration to make the sale is really a wall that's built. So in fact, you want to make sure that the phone number that you use is accessible to people. And if they do, what information are you going to give them? You have to determine what it is that you're going to tell them. When they call you up and they've seen your flyer, or they've seen your ad, or they've heard your message somehow, what more information are you going to give them that will help them make the decision to come out to the dance? Everything from directions to the cost to what they're going to wear. People will ask you all those types of questions. And you're going to have to ask them questions about what information from them. And then remember that this is something that you might not know, actually. Remember that January 1st, 2002, the Freedom of Information Act in North America and in Canada changed so that if you're getting information and creating a database for any purpose, you have to seek their permission to contact them again. So that's got something to do with some legislation that changed. So you're supposed to tell them, is it all right if I call you again? And then if you keep a record of anything other than their name and phone number, I think it's as simple as name and phone number. I think it's because they'll be afraid that you can sell it now, and they're trying to stop junk mail. Anyhow, that's kind of off topic, but you have to get their name, their phone number, perhaps their address if you're going to send them more information or whatever. I have a little checklist of information that I have next to the phone, essentially, so that if I'm not there and my wife is there, she can ask the same questions of the people as well. And then you just go through the questions. That way you can never miss anything that you want to get from them. Make sure you say everything that you're supposed to say. You meet them with enthusiasm, and you might be able to get them on your list. The follow-up, essentially, after you've made contact with these people and you've identified them, you've got their name and their phone number, how do you follow up with them? If they call you up and you're not, the dance class doesn't start for 2 or 3 weeks, are you going to follow up in writing? Will it be a letter? Will it be an invitation? Will you use websites and emails, phone calls? And how often do you call these people? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times? The marketing deal basically says that you should try them 3 times, and you'll hear no twice, and you'll hear yes once, hopefully. So how often are you going to call them back again is something you have to determine. And you want to make them feel like, when they call you, they're searching to see whether or not this is something they want to do. So one of the things you want to do is meet them with enthusiasm and let them know that you really want them to come out and join your group. And you will close that deal. If you meet them with indifference, certainly they'll probably hang up the phone without making a decision. So you really want to try to make them make the decision on the phone, because if they've made the step towards you, there's 75% of the decision's been made already, and all you need to do is just close the deal. And I'll pass it over to Ron unless anybody has any comments.
No, that's fine. I just actually, what my interest lies is in understanding who these people are that you're going to be talking to. This is all really good stuff. In the 5 years I've been working with some of the clubs, particularly for research purposes, I found it's kind of a con game, and I don't mean that the wrong way. These people, the boomers and the Xers, who are in fact our market, that's 100 million people moving through this population. 60% of them are single, so you have to know ahead of time how you're going to hang. If you're a couples-only club, then you must accept that and understand that. And also, I've gone to everything from Zydeco dances to modern Western swing to Eastern swing to see how these people seem to get people in and get them started. Not that we can do the same thing, but we might approach the same idea that they approach it with. And all of them do the same thing. They say, come down a half hour early, and we'll teach you how to be a swing dancer. Well, if you talk to the swing dance people before and after, and you really get to know them, they'll tell you that it takes about a year to be a swing dancer. And if you really want to be good, it'll take 3 to 5 years, which is about the way we figure our activity as. But you don't get that impression at that first meeting. These people think that after a half hour they are swing dancers, and they have a good time from the first step forward. It is a party. It is a party. They come to have a party because the boomers are not looking to take lessons. They're not looking to make a commitment. These people have the mindset, the same mindset, by the way, they had when they were 21 in the early 70s. They still have, and they're 55 today at the top of the list. So you can't just see these people as we've seen them for so long, as someone who's interested, willing to make a commitment, willing to come in and take time, and interested in becoming one of your group. But one thing, they have the same similarity in the sense that they're looking for a social experience. They're looking for a place to hang their cloak, so to speak. In our focus group studies, we found an amazing number of people who probably would join a club, come consistently and join a club, not because they're hooked on square dancing, but because you've made an opportunity for them to have a very good social experience. Maybe you go to a theater together as a group, or maybe you have a camp out together, or maybe it's a big summer party. These non-dance events in your program can be, believe it or not, very important to a certain percentage of your people. I guess what I really want to say, and the only thing I really want to say is that we cannot approach to close the deal this group of new prospective dancers, exactly the same way we did before. For 40 years, this has been, up until about 20 years ago, at least from about the 40s into the early 80s, this has been an immortal hobby. And it is no longer, there are no more immortal hobbies. The marketing place has got all kinds of reason for sponsoring all experiences in your life. And if we're not in a position to compete with those people, we're not going to be able to close the deal. You can't get them in to begin with, and you certainly can't get them to come back the next day or the next week. But if they come in as the swing dance people I notice have, and they have a really good time, and it's a party, and they think they're swing dancers at the end of the next 2-hour period, and of course they're not. But if they've had a good time and they say, well, this is not too bad. Well, hey, we got another one of these things next week. Why don't you just bring your partner and come on back and try it again? And they even go further than that. They say, well, I got a class next Wednesday. Well, we got another group does it on Thursday over at such and such a place, because they work together, which is one of the things that clubs are going to have to consider in the future, is ways to work together on this so that you have an option and you give people an option. It's critical to understand that this group of people don't want to look at a year's worth of lessons. They don't want to also think of themselves as not being club members immediately if they decide to join your group. This is a group of people who were raised on the Burger King slogan, "Have it your way," and that's been a mantra for a whole generation. So you have to think that way when you start to think about that first experience. I know it's not what we're used to. It's not what we want to do. We want to share it the same way we were shared, and we liked it, and we thought enough of it to come back and not worry about making commitments. But this group, in a sense, in a nice way, has to be conned. And I mean that in the right way. Later we can have questions if we are interested.
Is there any questions? Is everybody okay? Okay.
Jim, I think I give you a little
Just
advice. It's very important because
Hold on.
somebody wanted to.
Yeah. No. Oh, am I on? Yeah. Many times when you're making a presentation like that, you say your little asides. Those are perhaps more important than your total presentation, because they are the little kinds of things that make something go.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's why jump in anytime you have anything that you want to say. And we'll just keep moving along here with Ron. And
all right. What I did is I took from where Tim finished. I took, here we are at the first night, and I took also the charter that we were given by the Board of Governors as to what this seminar, what this intercession was supposed to be about, and it was a few little words that they gave us. They said, if we can get non-dancers to that first night, we have a better chance of getting them to come back. This presentation will explore methods and words to help you, quote, close the deal and get non-dancers to commit to attending that very important first night. So I said, well, suppose I just take that charter, that description of this intercession, and kind of take it apart and work with it a little bit, and as it applies really to right before and on the first night of lessons. So I start off with the first word, if. And I said, well, okay, let's throw that word out. Let's make it when. Let's think positively. Let's say it's not going to be if we can get people in the door. Let's think positively and say when we can get people in the door. And that also goes along with teaching lessons as well, and just about everything you do. Think positively about it. Teach positively. Show people how to do things. rather than how not to do things. As I said here, that little fifth bullet down, new dancers will come up with their own kinds of mistakes. They will be very creative about making mistakes sometimes. And don't have to, you don't have to worry about teaching all the this is the way not to do it. This is the way not to do it. Teach them how to do it, and be positive about everything, especially at the business of getting them in the door in the first place. Throw out that word if and use the word then. Page down, right? Get to the next one. Or space bar. Oh, I get the whole thing. Okay. Okay. The second word in the charter we were given is we. And that's a very important word, because it's not one person's effort that gets people in the door, that gets new dancers in the door. It's got to be a team effort. Our club in Tucson is we call it a team to get people to come in the door, to get them to stay, get them to have a good time. Everything is done as a team effort. The team being, of course, the caller, the caller's partner, if there is one, the club members themselves, the club board. To some extent, the association. I call in a retirement area. It's all permanent homes, but it's mostly a retirement area. You have to be 55 to live. I think 55 is the minimum age to live there. So there's some interaction required with the association for their support. But it is a team effort, and I think getting people in the door that first night should be looked at as a team effort, because if you've got a team, you've got a better shot at making it work better. What does the spacebar do? The spacebar does the same thing. Oh, it does. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So now we've gotten past if we can get. Now we come to non-dancers, and a couple of years ago, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, we started referring to our lessons as new dancer dances, and everybody was a dancer when they walked in the door. We didn't say lessons, we didn't say beginners, not because it necessarily had a stigma, but we wanted these people to think of themselves as dancers. Like Jim said earlier, he said, you've been here for half an hour, you're a swing dancer now. Well, you've been here you danced two or three tips, you're a square dancer now. You're a dancer. So they begin to think of themselves as a dancer. And yeah, you're conning them a little bit, but it's gentle conning, so it's okay. Okay, hit the space bar, right? Hot dog, look at that. I had a 20-second briefing on how to use PowerPoint last night. So now we're past, if we can get non-dancers to that first night. Here we are. It's the first night. One of the things that we do that's worked for us, I don't know if you do this, it may work for you also. The club assigns sponsors to the two newer dancers coming in. They say, okay, we've got these two couples in your area. These 2 or 3 couples in your area. We'll need people to go get these people, pick them up, bring them to the dance, follow up with them, make sure that they remember that the dance is that night, the first night of lessons is that night. All to try to make sure that the first night experience for these people is a very positive experience. Everything we try to do is fun. We use fun music. We use bright, lively, bright music, lively music. We do everything we can to ensure that new dancers coming in the door realize how friendly we are. We have greeters at the door. We have people who come up and say, hello, how are you? You live just down the street from me, don't you? And this sort of thing. So that they get the idea that this is a friendly group. As a caller, I try to always use, I always do use very lively, happy music. I don't, none of this, my dog died, my car broke down, and I lost my job yesterday type of music. Sometimes during, later on in the season that may be okay. But during especially on the first night, you want everything to be bright and lively and happy. Make sure that the new dancers on that first night, when they come in there, they win every tip. There's no sense trying to dazzle them with choreography that first night, because they don't know anything anyhow. And very likely you know a whole lot more than they do, and they don't need to be dazzled with wonderful stuff. It's just the whole night in a big circle. As long as they're having a good time and they can leave there thinking that they've had a good time and they're dancing, then you've done your job. Keep it short. That's just a little side tip. The first night doesn't have to be a 2.5-hour dance or a 2-hour dance. The first night could be a 1.5-hour session. Long breaks, a little bit longer breaks maybe than usual for visiting time, for people to talk with each other and visit with each other. And the other thing is when people come into a square dance the first time, they're probably, or very likely, not really physically ready to dance. They have not danced for a long time. And there's muscles that you use when you're dancing that you don't use all the time, and you don't want to push them, and they say, gee, my leg really hurts, we are out there on the floor all that time. So you keep your tips short and remember that they haven't got themselves conditioned either physically or mentally for dancing, and that's our job, is to, once we get them in there their first night, get them conditioned physically and mentally for dancing. That was the next word. If we can get non-dancers to that first night, there's that we again. Now, and I'm glad that the word is used a couple of times in here, because it's a very important word. It shows that it reminds everybody this is a team thing. It's not just one person doing it, not one person doing the marketing, not one person doing the calling, not one person getting the hall, not one person supporting the operation. It's a whole group of people who have to work together to get people in that door. As Jim said earlier, it's a tougher job now than it used to be. Used to be you'd put out a few flyers and 40 people would show up. Now you put out 40 flyers and one person shows up. So things have changed a little bit. But is a very important thing. Any comments, questions so far? I don't want to be up here just lecture. Everybody awake? Yes. We know one person's awake. Okay. All right. The rest of the charter that we were given says we have a better chance of getting them to come back for more. And this is Tim talked about this follow up. When you get them in the door, sometime that first night, make sure you've got their names, addresses, phone numbers. You want to be able to follow up with them. How did you call for their sponsor type people to call them the next day and say, did you have a good time? We're going to do it again next week. Same sort of scenario. Bring your friends next week. One thing I say sometimes, I said, bring your friends next week, or bring your friends next week, bring your enemies next week, we'll make friends out of them. So give it a try. Try to throw a little humor in. Get a short bio of them, their birthday, their anniversary, the kind of work they do, where they work, if they are still working, if they're retired, what did they retire from? Are they retired doctors? Are they retired engineers? Are they retired postal people? This sort of thing. Basically, the bottom line here is to show them you care about them personally. You're taking an interest in them, and you want to be sure that they know you've taken an interest in them, and they'll be more likely to come back for that second night. Okay, then the rest of the... Oh, question over here? Yeah. Oh, thank you, Mike. Give us your name, please. And
Bill Dixon from Reading, Massachusetts. My wife is not here, so I can speak. She knows that.
This is a tape session,
tape, right?
By the way.
I've said this a million times. But to me, the key at any place that you go is to work the floor. I've seen callers come in, they do their calling, they go to the side, they don't have any interplay with the people. Whether it's a beginner night or not, get there early, talk with people, smile at them. You can pick out the extroverts very easily and pull in a few other people. And also during the evening, stop for a minute. Does anybody have any question? Get some interplay like what you're trying to do here, to get so that it's the team effort that you're trying to do. But work the floor, work the floor, work the floor.
Yeah, that was part of the in the slide. How do you go back? Can you back it up a slide? Oh, look at that. One more. Yes. There we go. Thank you very much. I always wanted to do that. Next slide, please. That was in the comment here. Keep it short, and I made the comment also in there. Keep the evening short. Keep the tips short, and the breaks a little bit longer. This gives you the time for the kind of interaction that you're talking about. You can get out and work the floor. You can personally say hello to all these people, because there seems to be this aura about the guy with the mic or the gal with the mic. He's up on the stage, she's up on the stage, hopefully not standing behind a table, but as we have to do it here because we have things on the table. But you'll have the table next to you, you're open to them, they can see you. You're not some kind of heavenly body that doesn't talk and just yells through the microphone. And you are a person. Well, I'm not Canadian, though, you say. Yeah. You're not some sort of heavenly body that they can't talk to. You want to be sure that they know that you can talk to them and that you personally care about them. The club cares about them. Their sponsors care about them and this sort of thing. And that's why I said keep your tips short, keep your breaks a little bit, make your breaks a little bit longer, and that way you have time to get out and work the floor. Very important for that personal interaction. Now we just do no space bar.
You have to do the thing do it all over.
That would do it all over again. Oh, jeez. Okay. No. Okay. I think this is where we were. Okay. Then the last part of the charter we were given said this presentation will explore methods. Bottom line, folks, the methods are customer service. Okay. Let's take a break for a question. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We need the mic. Mike, please. Thank you.
Dana Shermer from Topeka, Kansas. In regards to your team concept, you're talking about we as a team get the people together. Do you have a preliminary team meeting where you explain what you're expecting from your team and just how do you address that with your team members so that they understand when the people walk in the door what they're supposed to do and the things to do and not to do?
Yes. Yeah, it's a very informal kind of a thing. We don't have to get everybody together and for a meeting type of thing. But the role of the sponsor, the role of the people, the role of the sponsors who are going to get and bring people to that first dance, the role of the people who are greeters at the door, that's defined for people. The role of the treasurer who stands there to take the money, or what if it is a charged night. Everybody, it's pretty well defined there. We do have a sort of get together session. At a dance or two, at a regular dance, or a regular weekly dance, at a regular weekly dance there in Tucson, prior to the start of new lessons or our first fun night, that thing we do brief everybody and give a handout out. So this is what we're going to do on our first night. We're expecting X number of people, and we would like you to be visit with people, and rather than have an us and them kind of mentality, we want to make sure everybody visits together with everybody else. Bring your people, and the sponsors especially are people who are given some instructions about making sure that they go get people and where they have you got the right addresses, have you talked to the people, that kind of thing. We do that, yeah. It's informal, but it's an organized kind of effort. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Everybody awake yet? All right. Yeah. The Starbucks isn't open yet. That's the problem. Anyhow, oh yeah, got a comment over here.
While they were sitting there thinking of questions, this close the deal is really as. Well, I've been using these things all my life. I never had the switches either on or off. This thing breaks down in a variety of ways. Closing the deal, to get them in the door is one issue. To hold them in the door is another issue. And to get them to come back the next session is another issue. And obviously, whether you're in a retirement community, as Ron is in Tucson, which I spent a lot of time in, so I know that area, and whether you're in Chicago urban area, then you've got different set of problems. Different set of people you're talking to. I mean, he pretty well knows in that retirement community that he's going to get people 55 and over. If your goal, for instance, is to try to get a younger group, or if you're working a college campus, or you hope to work a church, or whatever it happens to be, then you've got a different set of problems. Just as I mentioned before, a different set of issues. These issues all have to be addressed independently. How many of you have ever used the Hensel plan as a kind of form for marketing? Are you familiar with the Hensel plan? Heard it but never seen it. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody ever use it? It's a very effective program started by a gentleman by the name of Hensel in Chicago many years ago, and it's a series of. You still have to make the initial contact as you all did. The interesting thing is because of the frustration of what's happened over the last 20 or 30 years, most clubs are not doing what they did 30 years ago. If we were just doing what we did 30 years ago, we would more than be holding our own. But we've been so frustrated because of the events that have happened over the last 30 years and this intergenerational difference that we've quit doing that, because after 2 or 3 times and it's not working the same, we get very frustrated. We start blaming ourselves, and we project it out, and we blame other people. In the long run, we're really not doing what we did 30 years ago, when we really didn't have to do much, because it was an immortal hobby at that time. The Hensel Plan is a combination of phone calls and letters. Once you have a prospect, you've done a demo in front of a Sears or whatever it happens to be, and you have 4 or 5 names of people who are interested. And it's a series, and we can get you, by the way, if you're interested. You know who's used this to perfection has been the International Gay and Lesbian Square Dance Clubs. They've worked it like a son of a gun, and it's really worked for them. And it's a kind of sales program, effective by a series of phone calls. They may make as high as 6 or 7 phone calls to an individual after a couple of letters. And it's phone calls and letters that people have allowed, certainly. It's you start off with someone who is interested. You still have to generate that initial response, whether it's around a demo situation or whatever it happened. We did it recently with a club that needed some help. We demoed at a state fair in a county fair in Los Angeles, and then as a follow-up, we applied the Hensel Plan. It's a very effective program. Also, you may have to let this look like something else. There's a caller somewhere. I'm trying to think where he was. I think he was about halfway between L.A. and San Diego, and he happened to have a good background in calling old dances. He knew them and called a series of old dances. So we sit down and we did a 3-part series where each week he really created a historical dance and a historical period that went with it. So what people looked at in the advertising was not come down and learn how to square dance, but come down and dance like your grandmother did. And this is a recreation of a historical dance. Well, people are really into that now. I mean, if the whole area of living history is very big. The reenactment of all kinds of historical events. There's about 1 million people a year that get involved in this kind of activity. So people came, and they knew it was interactive. They knew it wasn't just a demonstration, and so they got to. And so we encouraged them to wear the costumes. And so by the second time, they were coming in costumes for that period. We started out with a early American, and then middle century, and then finally a 20s kind of a thing. And there are dances, as you all know, and I'm sure Bob knows, Bob Osgood, that reflect these periods of time in the history of square dancing. So what these people came for was not what you normally think they would come for square dancing. And the interesting thing is, over these 3 series of dances, he taught about 2/3 of what he would normally have taught anyway. So people got the message. They either got interested in it, but the idea here is that they came down for a different kind of reason. He got them in the door in a different way. What we have to start thinking about is learning to see this activity and being able to present it in new ways. You really have to start finding new ways to do it, because this group of people, these boomers, they just want to go take a few friends and have a good time. And that's a mindset that has stayed with them for 30 years. I know that because we just did a joint venture proposal with the AARP, and I was talking to the lady, and she said, well, what's your target group? I said, boomers. And she said, lots of luck. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you know what we do, Jim. I said, yeah, when you get to be 49 in this country, you get this little packet in the mail, and for $8 you get to be a member of AARP, and that's great because you get all these discounts. And she said, that's right, and everybody joins. We get about 89% of the people we send out to. Except about 5 years ago, and this is when the boomers started reaching 49 and 50, things started changing. I said, what do you mean? Well, over the last 5 years, we're only getting 23% of these boomers. These people had a mindset in the early 70s that said, I don't want to commit. I don't want to have to worry about responsibility of coming back. And they kept that mindset for 30 years. They don't want to do it in 02. So we have to recognize that, accept that, and we have to be creative in the way we let this thing be seen. Once you get them in the door, you can give them the same old stuff. That's fine. But you got to get them in the door, and sometimes that takes some really good creative thinking outside the box.
Yeah. Any questions or comments? One more, Mike.
Maybe this is the last time.
Keep it coming.
I like to throw in a few ideas here, what I call a shill concept. You have to be judicious about it, but if you have your new dancer night and you have some of your club people come in and they have to get inside themselves, I'm a dancer, but make believe that they are new people, and they can look around and see people who may be having a little difficulty or something like that, and mix in with them. So it tends to make the whole pot work a little bit better. I learned this way back when we had the New England Convention down at Atlantic City. You can tell my vintage. And all of those promotions on the boardwalk, they had shills out there where they were trying to get the price go up, and there'd be somebody here or there. And I wasn't smart enough to realize that I had been had. And we can do this, but do it judiciously, no matter where it is. When I do a lot of father-daughter nights, and somebody come in, I've done this before, I say, don't tell anybody. Let everybody think that you're a fast learner. And there are so many little kind of things that you can sneak in there. And just that idea of the show concept. It's not a bad word. It did have a bad connotation, but it's a subjective kind of way of getting in and pulling things together. Thank you.
One more over there.
Paul Walker from North Carolina. I have a marketing background, so I have 2 sales programs that I run.
We will have a potluck supper or an early get-together, and that's where I hand out promotional packages to the people. You got to provide them the supplies. But then the second sales program starts, and that's them contacting people and starting to get them to come to open house. We don't sell lessons. We sell the open house. It's a fun night. You come out, go out to dinner, come here, we'll provide the dessert for you, have a great time, and once they get there, then it's my responsibility to make sure that they have a good time. The dancers are coached on how I want them to act, what I want them to do. Never let any new dancer be by themselves. Never. If you see somebody over there by themselves, walk over and begin to talk with them, and then shut up and let them talk. People like to talk about themselves. And so that's what we need to do. If they have a good time, then they're going to come to our fun session, not our lessons. We don't have lessons anymore. We have a fun session. And they're new dancers. The first thing I do is I get them in a big circle, and I say, turn to somebody you don't know. Take both their hands and tell them how happy you are they're there. And from then on, it smiles all night long. And we need to convince the dancers that if we don't bring in new people, we're not going to exist. And it's fun. It's fun. And so I start selling right after we have graduation. I start selling again, and it's working for our clubs.
Yeah, I think that was what you just did is answered Dana's question about the kind of briefing and training that you give to your people for the next group of lessons that go on. So maybe you and Dana can get together later on. You can provide them a copy of your plan or something. What was the other question?
Sure. Will Leeds of California. A comment more than a question. Throughout the years that I have been in calling too, there's been a lot of people look at square dancing in a negative manner. You mentioned the word square dancing to a person who is not involved or really doesn't know someone who's involved, and all of a sudden you get this big negative feeling comes across, like, I wouldn't do that. That's stupid. And believe me, it's still out there. There's tons of it still out there. People have not changed their mind of what square dancing is. I think the first thing we have to do is, number one, we have the greatest activity in the world. There is no activity, and I'd defy anyone to find me one, that even begins to compare with what we have in square dancing. The things that we have in square dancing, no other activity has. So we have the best there is. And the people who are the dancers themselves, they have to be made to realize that this is the best there is. There is nothing better. And you have to make those people think of square dancing in that manner, in a positive way, so that they can express that to other people to get into square dancing. I know a lot of people who are even afraid to mention the word square dance to their friends because their friends say that's stupid and hokey. We don't want nothing to do with it. We know better, and we need to get the dancers in a mindset, the same as we are, that this is the best. There's nothing better.
Absolutely right. It's convincing people, and to finish up with the slides that we have here, this presentation will explore methods, and bottom line, in my view, is that the method is customer service. You are dealing with customers. We're calling them new dancers. We're calling them beginners. Whatever you call them, they're people who came for the first fun night, but they are customers, and they have to be treated. They have to be treated like customers. Show them you care about them personally. Like the comment over here, a new dancer there for the first night is never left alone. You don't want them sitting in a corner thinking, well, why am I here? Nobody's talking to me. Is this something I really want to do? Show them you care about them personally. Show them you want them to have fun, and that's very much the caller's job to do that, is with music, with his voice, her voice, his or her personality, getting down on the floor with them and showing them how to do things. And one thing that I do every now and then is I'll take a brand new person. If I want to show everybody how to do something, I'll take a brand new person out of the circle, show them, work with that person, that lady, and say thank you very much to her, and walk her back over to the circle and say, see how easy that is? She didn't know how to do that at all. And then she feels really good, and the group feels really good. Well, this is really not that hard, is it? Show them you're going to provide them the opportunity for fun with music and dancing. This is music. This is dancing. It's got music involved, and the opportunities, the weekly club dances, the weekly fun nights that you're going to be having, fun sessions, whatever you're going to call them. That they're going to be opportunities. They can have fun. They can have a little recreation. They'll use muscles they haven't used, especially if you're in a retirement area where people are looking for non-aerobic or the low low impact aerobic type of exercise. That's what this is. Show them how friendly your club is, and that was the comment we had earlier about people. We go get people and we greet them at the door and never leave them alone and this sort of thing. Show them how friendly you and your partner are. If you have a partner that you deal with, you and your partner ought to work the floor, or she works the floor one way and you work the floor the other way. Meet in the middle and go on around. Or if you're a lady caller, your husband or your partner work the floor individually or together. Customer service is the name of the game. And one last comment. Someone made a comment earlier about working with other groups. In my view, the C word in square dancing these days has got to be cooperation, not competition. Maybe competition worked 30 years ago or 40 years ago where clubs were competing for new dancers. It just doesn't work anymore. You've got to cooperate with other groups that also are bringing in new dancers. One of the things that works in our area, we have another club about 10 miles away, also in a retirement community. They have lessons on Tuesday, and we teach twice a week, by the way. We go November through April or November through May, because in May everybody disappears, so we have nobody to teach to. They're gone, they're going on cruises or back to Minnesota to their cabin by the lake or something. So we teach twice a week, November through May. Another group right near us teaches twice a week, and we teach on Monday and Wednesday. Another group 10 miles away, same age group, same demographics basically. They teach Tuesday and Thursday twice a week, November through May. We're all turning pages at about the same pace. So if they can't make it to ours, we encourage them strongly rather, to go to them, and vice versa. They come to us. If you can't make a Tuesday up at Saddlebrook, come to Wednesday at Sun City. It'll be the same lesson. If you can't make a Monday at Sun City, go to a Tuesday or Thursday at Saddlebrook. You'll have the same sort of thing. Cooperate with people around you. Both the programs have gotten bigger because we've cooperated with each other. That's all I have to say. Here's Tim.
There's a question in the back. Mike. Thanks, Mike.
Kathy Helt, Cincinnati, Ohio. What do you say to the new caller who's starting out? No affiliation with a club. How does he go about it?
You mean getting people? Sometimes they're the most effective marketer because, in fact, they're not bound by the burden of history. They're not working within a box. Sometimes they just let it rip. I'll tell you what I kind of want to do, and this will work out good, is just talk a little bit. Everybody has a success story about a marketing plan that went well, and there's a fella at home who is a brand new caller. This was a couple years ago now, but he was a brand new caller, and he was just learning how to call, knew virtually nothing about square dancing. He'd been dancing 1 year, and he picked up a microphone and decided he was going to go out and start calling, and he couldn't get any of the local clubs to help him at all. They were all being very, standoffish with him. So he went to a local bar, a country western bar, and he said to them, I'll offer my service to you free from 7 till 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and for your bar patrons. And the owner of the bar said, well, I'm not really interested in that per se, but he talked him into it finally. And he'd go there from 7 to 8 every night. And the first time, he got a bunch of people that were sitting at the bar and got them up on the floor for 10 or 20 minutes, and they didn't really have a great time, but they didn't have a bad time either. The next week he had a few more people. They told a few more people, and he just kept on with this every week. And finally, at the end of it, when he finally decided to step away from there, the bar was full of people, and the bartender or the bar owner was just ecstatic because nobody used to be in the bar between 7 and 8 o'clock. It didn't really get going until 9 or 9:30, and now he had a full bar between 7 and 8, and this Doug got all these people out to this thing. They just got the ball rolling. It was a wonderful program that he had going there, and he never ever tried to take those people any further than just one night. He was actually very good at it because he didn't have the burden of, well, you folks, if you come this week, next week you have to come as well because I'm teaching new stuff again, but you need to know the stuff that you learned last week. Every week was a reintroduction of the same thing, and he did just a fabulous job at that. But in some cases, some of the newer callers are better at it than some of the older callers because we are tied to our old methods. Even me, I'm a young guy, but I've been calling 30 years, and it's hard for me to even think outside the box in a lot of cases. I just want to tell you a couple more about a couple other things. We're talking about key people, selling key people. I'll tell you a success story in Montreal that occurred a few years ago. It was a bit of a phenomenon. A caller spent a lot of time talking to a Jewish church group, a Jewish rabbi who had incredible influence over his congregation. And he got the rabbi one day to say, we should all try square dancing. So, in fact, the rabbi got up one day and he said, I think we should all go square dancing. And they did. And they had classes of 30 and 40 squares for a few years until the rabbi one day said, this year we're going to try bowling, and then square dancing ended. But it's honest to goodness, that's a true story. If you can find a key individual who has influence over people like that, it's just amazing. And there are some of those folks that did love square dancing and stayed in square dancing, and it's not, that was just one success story. I'm sure there's all kinds of stories like that all over the place where you get a key individual that leads people in that direction. I talked about Ford Motor Company, but in our area there was Jim and Shelley Lee had a great idea that we never actually finally put together, but it was a great idea in the police associations. One of the, I guess, next to square dance callers, police have the greatest divorce rate out there. And anyways, so the police association wanted to find an activity that the husband and wife could do together. Well, isn't square dancing just perfect for that? And so they went to the police associations and said, hey, we've got the perfect activity for you. And that's a great idea. They've already got a collective body of people who are looking for an activity that is what we have to offer. I'll tell you about a marketing plan that I came up with that worked out really good. I defined the target market as not being people my age. I'll tell you the truth. I think that we are just awful. People my age are just absolutely awful. That is under 40. They are awful at this stuff because they just don't stick with anything because we've never had to. We're referred to as instantaneous gratificationalists. We want it now. I want to learn. I want the piano now. I don't want to learn. I don't want to spend the time to do all that stuff. I want to do it now. So we're not our best target market, but the people who are just now retiring, age 40 to 60, they're a pretty good market. They're the people that I really want. They're not burdened by kids at home and the babysitter excuse and all that stuff. So I determined that the people that we need are the people between the age of 40 and the age of 60. So what I did was, every night in the newspaper there was the 25th anniversaries notices of people. So what we did was we looked at this 25th anniversary, and I thought, those are good people. They've been married 25 years. That means that their kids are probably, in their 20s, maybe their 30s. No, that wouldn't work, would it? They're in 20s, so that they don't need babysitters, and they're probably still working if they're having their 25th anniversary. They're probably still got a job, so they're not going down to Arizona, with all due respect. So they're going to be around all the time. So I figured those are good people. So what we did was I'd go to the newspaper and find these 25th year anniversary notices. Then I'd go to the telephone book because it would say, Mr. and Mrs. Bob Smith of Smithville, Ontario are celebrating their 25th anniversary and their kids are throwing a party or whatever. What I'd do then is I'd go into the telephone book and find Mr. or Mrs. Bob Smith of Smithville, and there could be 20 of them sometimes. So I'd do 20 letters that said, hey, congratulations on your 25th wedding anniversary. And then on the back of the letter was a list of my club, a list of all my club members, and said, we want to wish you congratulations on your 25th anniversary. The program is over, in case you're wondering. It timed out. So so then we'd send this letter out, and I'd get phone calls all the time from people going, hi, you sent us this letter, but it isn't us. It's not our anniversary. That was our cousin or whatever. And I say, oh, really? But that was a contact point. You say, well, you should get your cousin for a 25th anniversary and come to our square dance class. And every week we would send this letter out to people, and it was surprising what kind of response we'd get. Some of it, the response lots of times was, sorry, but it's not me, but it's somebody that they knew. But the people who did get the letter, and it really was their anniversary, they were a little shocked that we actually sent them a letter to wish them congratulations on their 25th anniversary. And some of those people are dancing today. So it was not a bad one. Anyway, so if you have any idea, I'd like to hear about other successful plans too, just help ideas. Dana, and then we'll go over to Paul.
Dana Schimmer again from Topeka. A couple of ideals and a couple of things we do, and quite honestly, my wife does, is prepared for just about anything that happens in the door. And we have occasion where couples show up, don't have a babysitter, got a 2 or 3 year old child. She has a inventory of coloring books and puzzles and stuff. She basically takes those people to the table off the side, and she keeps them entertained while the parents are out dancing. She may even get the kids up in the back and do a little circle left, circle right to the music, and the kids think they're doing something back there. And in doing so, she's selling the parents that this is a friendly group. And another thing I try, and I'm not the best at it, but I try very hard, is to remember the person's name and repeat it as many times in conversations and go by and say, hey, Bob, everything's okay? And people like to hear their names. They like to know that you remember it. They like to know that you're thinking of them. So the more you use it, the better off they will know that this is an activity that they might want to be a part of. One question I have for you is, when you have your first few nights, do you ask your experienced dancers to come in costume? Is that a requirement? Is it something you like them to do, or is it kind of left to go down the line? We've had people say, well, we think some of the people get scared when they see the costumes. They don't want to try that. And they worry about the cost of the costume. They worry about the expense that might be involved with it. And then we have others saying, well, that's part of the beauty of square dancing. They ought to see it. Just your thoughts.
Well, in our area down in Tucson, we don't require any kind of costumes. We do talk about after a couple of lessons is when we come out with the 10 Commandments and the long sleeve shirts and this sort of thing. But our philosophy is, as long as you're there, we're happy, and we don't hit them with the costumes for a while. We don't hit them with traveling to festivals to dance for a while. We don't want to hit them with the club outfits for a while. We just want them to get in the door, have a good time, and enjoy themselves, and then come back next week or come back for the next session. Costumes are something we just leave completely out of the picture until well down the road into the lessons. Not that we're trying to con them, but it's just not something that we have chosen. And maybe other areas it works for you, but we've just chosen in our area that to leave that out of the picture. We want you in the door. We want you to have a good time. Start thinking of yourself as a dancer, and then come back for the next time. That's what we do.
Paul?
Yes, we never. Is this on? Sorry. We always dress down on open house. The reason why is because the age bracket we're going for is between 45 and 55. That's our target area. When I was going to high school back in the 50s.
I'm sorry, what was that? We missed that. Could you say that again?
Yeah, when I was in high school back in the 50s, the girls wore crinolines. So if you go to somebody who's in their 60s and say, you know, you're going to have to wear crinolines. I say, okay. You tell somebody in their 50s that, or their 40s, and they'll tell you something. Now, we had two things that we did that were really successful in the years past is we divided our city up into grids. Each couple was responsible for a grid. They would walk that grid once or twice a week and put 3x5 invitation cards in people's automobile windows. We also went to the shopping center during the month of August twice, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning. Every car got one of these little cards, invitation card. In the afternoon, they'd go back at 2 o'clock. Every card would get an invitation card. We put posters up in the area. Got in trouble with the police by putting them on telephone poles, but that's okay. And so we did that. We had 98 people show up for lessons, and we graduated 73 that year. Another year, we in our open house we had a dinner, and had invited people to come, using again the promotional package that we had. Very successful that year. This year we're trying something totally new. We fell into something in lessons this past time that we had 6 teenagers show up. They had got a gift certificate. We give gift certificates out. I expect every dancer in our club to mail 10. If they don't know 10 people, send it to occupant. Doesn't matter who they send it to. But they mail 10 invitations, and it's a gift certificate for open house. It's free. You can come free. We had 6 teenagers show up. They brought their parents. We found out that they were from the homeschooled organization. These people are looking for some social activity for their children. They'll bring their parents with them. And we found out that there's organizations set up within the counties that where I call for, it's a homeschooled parent association, I believe it's called. Anyway, and the state has one too. But there are massive marketing people selling homeschooled products to this new market. There's 2.3 million homeschooled children in this country. They figure over the next 3 to 5 years there'll be between 4 and 5 million homeschooled children. This is a vast market that we get. Now we have to fall back and take a look. What do we do about the costumes? These people are not going to wear them. If we don't change, we're not going to grow. Progress is impossible without change. So we're going to get in. We found out that they put out a newsletter that goes to homeschooled parents in August. In that newsletter is listed all the social activities that the homeschool program is going to sponsor and support and encourage people to go to. Ballet lessons, tap lessons, dance lessons, just all kinds of things to get these children so that they can grow in their social skills with other people, because that's where they lack most in the homeschool program. We are going to get an article in there announcing our open house and what we can do for them, and we're hoping it'll really grow. I really think it's going to be successful.
Go ahead, Will.
Will Eads from California. I'd like to make one comment. This is not special on that, but when people go out to do demonstration squares at shopping centers, maybe at churches, wherever you go to do demonstration squares, I noticed that if you make it public to all square dancers, the people who show up there are not really the ones you wanted to show up. And I know in our area we have one old gentleman. He's somewhere up in his 80s. He's had a hip replacement. He's got scoliosis very bad, but he's the first one that gets on the floor. And then we have another couple that the only place they ever show up is at these demos. They're also in their 80s, and they come out. I guess it's for the free dancing or whatever it's for. I really don't know. But it makes a very, very bad impression on people who we're trying to recruit into square dancing. It's a real problem in our area. I'm sure that everyone else has the same problem also. A few years ago, we decided to put together a demo team of selected people. We pick them out, And we actually work with these people along the sideline. We don't put them in square dance attire. We put them out there, number one, because they're good, friendly, open people who can talk to other people. They have a very positive attitude about square dancing, what they're doing. And we've taken this demo group to a couple of places, and we have had such a tremendous positive response off of this. And I just want to caution you, if you open this thing up to everyone, you're going to get the people who you do not desire to have there to do the demonstrations. You need to have some control over the people who come to these demonstrations if you possibly can, and keep it in a very positive, upbeat way.
Absolutely. We actually are out of time, so I'll bring this to a close, but that doesn't mean you have to stop talking about it. So if you want to stay back and chat, or you want to chat to each other, that's some of the best stuff. I just want to thank Ron Markus and Jim Hensley and all of you for coming this morning. I know 9 o'clock is never the favorite time. And don't forget, if you want copies of this PowerPoint presentation, I can send it to you. I can print it, whatever you like. Just put your name up here so I know, and we'll get it to you. Okay? Thank you. Good morning.